BBC Radio 2.
So, a report warns that schools which log racist incidents amongst pupils are causing divisions in the classroom and wasting their time. Since 2002, teachers have been duty-bound to report all racist incidents, so-called, to their local council, and the figures show 40,000 are referred to the authorities every year. But the report for the civil liberties organisation the Manifesto Club found the following examples. In a disagreement while playing football, a girl called a fellow pupil white trash, and also a child argued with two other children at a different school and called them both chocolate bars. The perpetrators in those cases were both reported to the authorities and punished by their schools. But should all so-called racist remarks really be taken so seriously? The Manifesto Club says these draconian measures are only making divisions worse. Do you agree with that? I'm joined by Sonia Poulton, a journalist whose daughter Shay is mixed race. And first we speak to Adrian Hart. He's in Eastbourne. He's the author of the report, The Myth of Racist Kids. So a child can say something racist or racist sounding but not be racist. Is that right, Adrian?
Yes, that's right. Essentially what I'm saying is we don't need this kind of top-down official anti-racism in schools. Kids, actually, and I see this all the time in my work over 12 years in primary schools now, kids are instinctively colourblind and they're more ethnically mixed than ever before. They're actually, in a way, doing anti-racism all by themselves.
But
so what I'm trying to kind of point out, really, is that teachers are under pressure to find racist behaviour that isn't there.
Right. But I was going to say that
children insult each other. Of course they do. They're kids.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It must be a delay on the line. I was just going to say children do pick on difference, don't they? And whether it's ginger hair or one of our producers was saying that his nickname at school was skeletal because he was so thin, all kinds of stuff. And race will naturally come into that, won't it?
Well, in as much as children just see it as yet another difference and another usable insult. They don't understand these things at primary level as race. They simply just see a range of differences, and when they fall out, they grab onto any usable insult they can.
Okay.
And I must say, Jeremy, that I'm not arguing for a second that schools shouldn't have assert authority in saying to kids, "Don't be nasty." What I'm saying is trust schools a bit more and don't force them to bypass their common sense in favour of this zero-tolerance official reporting.
Is it worse to make a joke about a Chinese pupil's eyes than it is to make a joke about a red-headed pupil's hair?
No. These things exist in the world of children insulting each other over a difference. I don't think that it's right at all that policymakers see fit to elevate what they see as racism into the realm of, to elevate playground spats into racism. The problem, I think, is that policymakers are living in a different world. They're living in yesterday's world. Their conception of racism is rooted in the past, I think, when it really was a problem. I remember it well. Or rooted in this modern idea that racism has a hidden presence in all of us. And so what I'm really saying, Jeremy, is that in 2009, none of this is relevant to primary-age kids. And, we can talk about what children do and how offended as adults we might sometimes be by it. But look, we've got to get this right. The playground is a messy place, okay? It's fizzing with friendships, falling out, making up, teasing and banter. Of course they insult each other. They're kids. And really it's a travesty and quite damaging that this world should get interfered with by a policy determined to elevate spats into racism.
Let me bring in Sonia. Poulton.
Worse, Jeremy,
hang on. Let me bring in our other guest, can I?
Children start to take on board divisive ideas of race.
Kids you said that, Adrian.
The world's out to get them, and white kids start to feel resentful.
Okay.
I meet these kids years later at secondary level, and it's like they're carrying the baggage of all this stuff.
Can I just bring in the other guest? Sonia Poulton, What do you think of that?
I'm sat here and I'm having to keep my hand over my mouth so that I don't interrupt Mr. Hart, but I have to say...
It's not possible to interrupt him, as I found out.
Clearly, but what I have to say is, while he's saying that policymakers are rooted in the past, I certainly am not. And I would like to say that I'm assuming Mr. Hart has never been in a position where he's had to comfort a bewildered and crying child who wants to know why she's been called chocolate face at school that day. Well, I have. And I can tell you, it's not not something that we can deny or ignore. The truth is, these children need to be educated. They're coming into school with these racist attitudes which are entirely inappropriate, and we're actually failing them by failing to address it. It's absolute nonsense. And also, let me tell you this, racism cuts every way. It isn't just white children on the receiving end of it. It is not appropriate for anybody to call somebody white trash or chocolate face, because it's the intent behind it.
Is it worse to call somebody chocolate face than it is to call them ginger?
It's all bullying. It's all...
So it's no worse. So racism is no worse, Sonia?
I personally, having grown up with ginger hair and having been a chubby child at school and going through the whole of it, it's all bullying. It's all destroys your self-esteem.
Hang on. Well, if it's all bullying, why is racism in a special category where it's being reported to the council? I don't understand.
Well, I do, and I'll tell you why it is. It's because it hasn't previously. What we've done...
Well, other bullying isn't, is it?
Other bullying is reported.
No, if you call somebody ginger on the playground, that is not reported to the council.
Well, I think we have to be very careful here, and one of the things that we have to be very careful about is not to be too heavy-handed.
Well, but I thought you were arguing for this to be taken very seriously.
No, I am, but there is a way to approach these things.
Well, you're agreeing with Adrian. He's saying don't be too heavy-handed.
No, I'm certainly not agreeing. There's nothing that Adrian said that I could possibly agree with, because I think that he's coming from such a position of naivety. I can't believe that he said he's been in and out of primary schools for 12 years. Well, I've been in and out of primary schools for the last 8 years with my daughter, and I organised a multicultural week, and one of the reasons that I did was because my daughter came home from school one day and she had witnessed a child in class. They were all given a task to write a rap. She'd witnessed a child in class say extremely derogatory things about Chinese people, and while that didn't directly affect her, she knew straight away that this was unacceptable. She came home, I went to the head teacher. The teacher herself was absolutely clueless about it, in fact gave the child an award for their rap, and I went to the head teacher and we ended up doing a multicultural week. So we have to be careful how we go about it.
Can I ask you about the multicultural week?
Yes.
Doesn't that just accentuate the differences? So it says to all these kids who'd never previously seen that they had different colours, it says your family originally from Africa, that's got a lovely tradition, yours are from China, and all of that just makes them separate, doesn't it?
Well, we only have to look at all studies. I've looked at all manner of studies in sociology and psychology, and from a very early age, children already are aware of the differences. Let's accept the differences, appreciate them, respect them, honour them. The truth is, my daughter has a Jamaican father and a British mother. In order for her to be whole and complete, both those sides need to be acknowledged, and that's the same with every child. We had one issue in the school during the multicultural week, which was actually from an Asian family, and this mother was absolutely petrified about this whole issue of highlighting, but the truth is her child was already being subjected to forms of racism. So we have to be careful how we approach it, but approach it we must.
Okay, Adrian, approach it we must, says Sonia.
Well, I mean, she's already agreed that schools are only reporting racist incidents. They're not reporting other kinds of ways that children are picked on and bullied. This is the kind of essential thing I'm saying. That the difference is that that children's everyday playground spats, however trivial, are being reported with an approach dubbed zero tolerance to local authorities, and in doing so, it elevates that kind of interaction between children into erroneously onto the level of racism. I think it's patronising to think that children, whoever they are, aren't resilient. Encouraging them towards victimhood, and it doesn't help. If they're being targeted and suffer, then of course adults must intervene. We always do. I've been working in schools for years, and we do that. And the problem with Sonia's examples is that she's conflating things that are rare with the general, and if a child is upset by anything about them that has been picked on by other kids in a sustained and targeted way, then schools have always had a really good record in dealing with those. We need to trust schools a little bit more.
Sonia?
In a way, I want to go further, and I just say, step away a little bit. Leave the kids alone. In more and more primary schools, and this is something I would have thought Sonia agrees with, they're inventing a version of multi-ethnic, multicultural harmony that could teach the adult world a thing or two. Don't look to children for racism. That belongs in the adult world.
Well, surely in a post-racist society where it's not an issue, people will be able to tease other people about their colour, Sonia.
Absolutely. Look, if racist bullying is not dealt with in schools, then it just sends a powerful message to children that racism is acceptable.
Does it?
I think it does, absolutely.
Don't they discover in the adult world that it's not, and that's a lesson for the future?
I think it might be a bit late then. The problem is a lot of these attitudes are coming from the home. It is ridiculous to say that schools are already dealing with it. I've just completed a report as a journalist which shows how many schools throughout the UK are actually hiding the extent of all forms of bullying, particularly racist bullying. And one of the reasons that they are, obviously, which is a story for another time, but schools are increasingly becoming like businesses. So they're worried that if they show that they've got racist incidents at their school, it puts people off from enrolling at their school. So I say that we are hiding the extent of what's going on rather than actually properly tackling it.
Thank you very much indeed. Sonia Poulton, journalist and mum. Daughter is Shay. Adrian Hart, author of The Myth of Racist Kids. It's all down to this report today which says that racism, these incidents in schools, 40,000 a year, should not be reported to the council.
Hello, innocent. BBC Radio.